Giselle, thank you for joining us. We're so excited to have you here. You're hot off like some races. Why don't you start off by letting everyone know who you are?
I think that's the hardest question. Okay, so things have changed. Now I will say that I'm a mom, a wife, and yeah, I'm a TV presenter and reporter. I cover mostly motorsports, but there are other sports that I work in. I'm from Mexico, and I live in LA.
Fantastic. So how did you get your start in covering sports? You know, like you do so many sports. Like I think there's like
Yeah.
football, there's NASCAR, there's motorsport, there's even like soccer. Like how did you
Yeah.
get started in all of this?
Yeah, the story is that I always knew that I wanted to be like on media since I was a little girl. I always was, you know, like doing shows for my family, maybe singing or whatever. But I always wanted like the attention. I was always figuring out how to be in media. Or, for example, there were in school there were. I don't know, different contests, and I was hosting them or whatever. No, I was always, I always want to have like the mic, no, or the voice to speak. So I studied communication, and when I was studying communication, I was in love already with sports because of my brother. My brother was super fan, talking about soccer or football for us in Latin America. So he was so deeply like engaged with a team, Club America. And I was like, what is this about? Why he's so passionate about this? Why he stopped eating if his team loses, or what is going on? So I started to get involved first into Club America and all the games, but then into other sports because I understood about that passion and what is to be a fan and what is to be involved in the conversation about the sport, into a team, into a player, into I started watching tennis and following Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer. So all these different things that the yeah, and I'm gonna repeat many times passion because I think that's like the magic word in sports. So everything was about that. So I was so in love with the sports, and then I was studying communication. So I said, like, okay, if I love sports, I think the best way to be close to sports is gonna be sports journalism. So I would say that I found like my perfect match because I do what I love, that is communicate, to have the mic, and I'm doing it in what I love the most, sports, and there are my two passions in one. So yeah, that's the story. So I always blame my brother, and you will listen this story many times, and I always say like, this is your fault because you were so passionate that you made me passionate about it. So yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I find that a lot of people who maybe feel lost in older age or maybe aren't so driven in their careers that they've chosen, if they've gone down through, they look back to their childhood and they look back to, okay, what used to make me happy? What used to be a big part of my childhood? What used to be a big part of my life? And can I integrate that into my career? Can I integrate that into my adult life in some way, shape, or form? So I think that that's fantastic that you were able to realize that talent very early on and see that opportunity very early on, and then use it as a fuel for your career and building your career. As part of that, not being from the US or from the UK, do you think that in general, in motorsports specifically, there's a lot of people that come from the UK that work in Formula One? Do you think that coming from a different environment maybe has given you an obstacle for breaking into the industry, or maybe do you think it was a weapon that you're able to use in a good way? What was that experience like?
So when I started let's say in 2010, when I started let's say like properly my career in media, that I was working in Televisa Deportes. Mm-hmm. To be honest, Formula One was not even in my radar, like it was not even a dream, because first of all, there was no Mexican driver. There was no Mexican Grand Prix. No, so we knew that Checo was in GP2 and Esteban Gutierrez was in GP3. So there was these two guys that were actually fighting for the championship, both, and they were doing a great job. But I remember my boss even once asked me, like, ask Checo if any Formula One team has called him or whatever. And I was like, come on, that's not gonna happen, So I asked Checo, and he was like, yeah, but we're still in conversations, nothing yet. And I was like, yeah, this is not gonna happen. Because, yeah, as I told, maybe for the world or other journalists was a thing, but for me, it was not. Maybe because I was too young, or I had like no idea that it could happen. But for me, it was not in the radar. So after like the months start passing, and of course, Checo was fighting the championship with Pastor, and you start listening about rumors, and everything started to become real. So then first was Esteban announced as reserve driver for Sauber, and then it was Checo announced as a Formula One driver. So when everything, when all this started and everything was now real, it was a thing. I was one, like, of course, like reporting about them every weekend. So it started like a fight. I wouldn't say fight, but yeah, like I guess that it's a normal competition between co-workers, because of course it's Formula One. Everybody wants to be in Formula One. So there were other colleagues that were more that were also into motorsports, and of course they wanted that position, and they wanted to be the ones to cover that. So long story short, they started to send us like, okay, you're gonna do Australia. I did Australia 2011. Then another colleague China. Then another colleague Malaysia, and then I did Turkey. And we were like swapping. Is that correct to say? Like one way on one to one race, and then blah blah blah. At the end, I was the one that was covering all the season, because of my work, or because they like it, or because I don't know. I was the chosen one. So then when I get into Formula One, and then I realized what you just mentioned, like it's like a totally different world. In terms of course, I was working in Mexico and then started to travel following a Mexican. So for me, that was like the inspiration and the key. If there's a Mexican traveling all over the world, fighting for points, for a position or whatever, versus other 19 drivers, I want to be, or I can do, or I put the verb that you like, I want to do the same. I want to be a Mexican covering the sport all over the world and make the difference. So I think that I approach the sport into that way. So I never saw like the barrier, for me was like, I'm going to do it. I know my job. And I love what I'm doing. So I just like literally follow my dream. Of course, it's complicated because I can't imagine myself in the position that I'm now without Sergio, for example, not Checo. Because of course, Checo and in that moment Esteban helped me because of their careers, of course, to my career also to grow. No, it was something that it came together. No, so and another good thing about being in Formula One that I think is important. Maybe it's mostly British people there, but you can see from all over the world. So maybe I was, there's someone from Italy and then someone from Spain. I remember I had a good friend from Spain, and I always saw her and I was like, I want to be like her, because maybe of the language, it wasn't like my first way to compare, no? Like Spanish speaking. So, yeah, I realized that in Formula One, there's place for everyone because it's a worldwide event. So Germans, Swedish, like, and a lot of women. Okay, of course it's mostly men, but there are a lot of women, no, and now more. So for me, it was great to be there, and I really felt super confident in that place, and place I want to call like the circus of Formula One, because of that. Because I knew I was different, but I knew also that I was included. So yeah, I have to thank, of course, Checo and Esteban for being Formula One drivers and to help me to achieve that goal. That, as I told you at the beginning, maybe I was more into soccer or something, but as things came started changing and everything, I started to get involved into that because yeah, it was a good opportunity, and it was a good story. That was the most important thing. It was a good story, the Mexicans in Formula One, and these two young guys that were, as I told you, fighting since minor categories and doing extraordinary things.
That's incredible. I think what's so interesting about your story is that you were brought into the sport by men. Like, first of all, your love of sport started with your brother. And then what got you into Formula One was like two Mexican drivers, two men. And then when you got into the Formula One circles, and that universe, you saw women there. So it's really, it's what's so important is, I think what we take away is like representation matters. You can't be what you can't see. You saw a Mexican in Formula One, you're like, I'm going to be there. When you got to there, you're like, oh, there's other women as, working here. What comes to mind when you said Italy, I was like, oh, Federica is there.
Yeah.
She's like, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Federica, Mara, and from Spain, the girl that I told you about is Nira Juanco. Okay. So Nira was the reporter for Spain, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
So important. And it's so cool to see. So that was your start. You're literally chasing two Mexican drivers around the world as they chase other drivers in a circle. To you then, you led the 2023 Red Bull livery release. Do you want to talk to us about how you got that call for the opportunity and like what went through your mind?
Yeah. Max, former PR, because she got pregnant, so she left, and so Vicky texted me one day. I was in Cancun. I was hosting an event with Checo. So I woke up in Cancun and read a message from Vicky that, hey, are you interested in hosting the Red Bull launch season? And I was like, okay, let me read this again. I read, and I forwarded to my husband, and I was like, obviously, yes, like, of course I want to do it. So she told me, like, if you're interested, I think that you have like the like the perfect, because the idea was to do something, not that, I want to say not that formal, but maybe more. They wanted to do something different, as it was in the US. The presentation, the launch was in the US, no? So that was something different. Then, of course, they don't wanted to have, and talking about languages and accents and all that, they want to have a different accent because they were doing something different by launching the car in the US. And so they told me, like, the idea is to have a guy, a local guy, and yourself if you want to do it. And I was like, yeah. So I received a call from Paul Smith, that is the head of communications for Red Bull, and he explained me, like, okay, this is the idea. Are you in? And I'm like, hell yes, of course, I'm gonna do it. I was freaking out. I was super nervous. I was in the flight. I even text Checo, like, I don't know if you know, but I'm hosting the show tomorrow and I'm super nervous. And I practice, like, reading the script all day, all night, because of the language. Of course, in Spanish, it wouldn't be super different, and maybe I wouldn't need to read the script so many times. But in English, I wanted to be the closest to perfect. Of course, in my words, in my language, in my accent that I have, I don't know, but what word to use, but my accent is so obvious, so, and I was nervous about that. But then Vicky told me, like, this is what we're looking. That's why we call you. We are looking for something different. We don't care about the accent. We know about your accent. That's why and that was part of the conversation. No, if we wouldn't want that, we could call anyone. As you mentioned, there's a lot of UK or even locals, that have better English than me. But yeah, I was super honored and proud, of course, to host that launch worldwide. It was super important for me, not only because of what Vicky told me about, to feel proud of my accent or where am I from, that I think that is very important, no? But also because Red Bull, the world champions, doing it in the US, to break the barriers. When I start reading all the messages from different women of the world, and mostly Latins, was like the feeling, I don't know if I can describe that, but because I was reading it and I was like, sometimes I do my job and I didn't realize, and I don't realize how much, like, who is watching, So I was only thinking on doing it the best way possible. And then I received a tons of message of women that were inspired by seeing me there. And that make my heart full, because I know that there are millions of women that can do whatever they want. Like, everyone, let's say, don't put a number, like, we all can do whatever we want. So I think that was the most rewarding thing, not being there worldwide and talking in English or whatever, but the messages that I receive from women all over, getting inspired from what they just saw. So yeah, that was the best thing for me.
That's incredible. And do you think that having an experience like that, not only, of course, putting yourself out of your comfort zone and doing something that is really new to you, it's new to motorsports. As you said, they're kind of doing something completely out of the box on the motorsport side, which, first of all, is fantastic to see that teams are really starting to branch out and be more inclusive and trying to integrate more markets and more people of different diverse backgrounds. And obviously that's an amazing thing to see. But also just knowing yourself that something you were so nervous about and something that you, again, was out of your comfort zone, and then to go in, obviously kick butt, have an amazing time, but then in the same vein, inspire all of these other women who are watching. And just as Samantha had said earlier, like, if you can see it, you can be it. And I'm sure that piece of content, that one event, probably changed the lives of so many people of, oh my God, I want to be able to do this one day. If I can see her do it, then I can, whether they're of Spanish background or whether they're from Mexican background or whether they're from Italian background or whatever it is, right? Just being able to see those people do the things. And it's just such an incredible thing to see. So
you know what? It reminded me when I went to my first launch in walking for McLaren. When I don't know if it was the first. No, maybe I did one before. Well, not important, but I remember that one in walking, and I saw it was Natalie Pinkman, the one that was she was hosting it, and I would say, like, one day I'm gonna be there. Yeah, simple comment, Yeah, years pass, like 10 years, and then I was hosting a launch event, and when I received all that messages, I was like, yeah, I dreamt about this some years ago. So yeah, it's real.
That's
I
amazing.
just got chills. That's like, you went there, you're there. And I think that leads into, like, we had a question, but it was like, can you describe a moment in your life that you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm here. I had this idea and I'm Every time, because what I told you, like, I love sports. And I'm passionate about it. So every time it's like, yeah, I'm here. Wow, I'm here. Like, mostly the first times is the ones that like my first Formula Grand Prix or my first Super Bowl or my first, like the first are the one, like, for example, in Daytona 500, I was the first Latin woman to report from the pit lane, and I did it with Fox Deportes. So yeah, the first is always like, oh my God, I'm here. Oh my God, I'm the first, or whatever. So, but yeah, every Grand Prix is the same. Like, last time in Miami, next now in Canada, or I'm gonna be excited every time. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's super inspiring to always see the first time a woman of background is able to do something, but obviously, hopefully, it will never be the last. And it's opening the future for so many other young girls and women to get into this sport, or young Latinos, or again, people just from diverse backgrounds. What advice do you give to any young women or girls who are looking to get into sports media and are obviously looking at you as someone of stature and looking to you as like an experienced professional in this? What's your advice for those people who want to get involved?
Yeah, never let someone to tell you that you can do it, because sometimes you can receive comments or you can hear from people that they don't realize how much they can affect you. So never allow, not even a boss, someone from your family or from stupid social media, don't ever allow someone to stop you from what you dream. Sometimes it's super hard, and you will listen many comments that will make you doubt. But if you know in your heart what you want to do, go fight for it. Do it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a lot easier said than done. How do you put that into practice? Are there certain things that you do in your day-to-day where maybe if you get bad feedback or you see a comment that you really just wish you hadn't seen, how do you kind of get yourself over that and remind yourself that this is something, it's your dream, it's what you are chasing, and the haters don't matter?
Yeah, I want to focus more in social media, because now it's it's the closest thing or the place where people love to spread hate. So first of all, you have to and it's difficult because it happens to me many times. Like maybe today I receive a bad comment and I will be like, what? What I do? No, did I do something wrong? No. But that's the first thing to remember. They don't know you. They know your profile, but they don't know you. They don't know your feelings. They don't know your journey. They don't know you. Number one. Number two, the world is so big, and there's plenty of opportunities, plenty of things going on all the time. For you to focus your energy in someone or something like a comment that tomorrow will be nothing, because of all these things in the world that are going all the time, like all this energy, everything. Like there are more important things for you to focus your energy rather than someone that is trying to hurt you. And also that's very, I know it's hard. Sometimes you read it and you want to get into the phone and fight, and say like, come on, tell me to my face. No, I know the feeling. Trust me. I know the feeling. And it's hard. But
I think what you're expressing is like grounding yourself. Just understand, like, this isn't truth. Like, this is someone's opinion of you. Doesn't know you, right?
And you can think also like, okay, there are some things that I don't like from other people. Maybe I'm not the kind of person that is gonna tweet like, oh, you're terrible. Maybe I just thinking. No, I just thinking and that's it. No, but I think that the other important thing is if you like what you do. If I post a video, oh, this is terrible. No, you should do this. But I like what I did. That's on me, like I like it. So I'm going to continue this. Yeah. Or, okay, maybe if you're trying, okay, but don't take it personally. That's important. Don't take it. Okay. People didn't like this video. Okay, I'm going to try another thing. No, but don't take it personally. That's important.
Yeah.
I look very chill, but sometimes I'm not. I understand. Yeah. I understand. I promise. I understand about this, but yeah.
Are you an Aries by any chance?
I'm a what?
Are you an Aries? You're like, I look chill, but I'm really not. Like that's me. I'm like, I look chill. Sometimes I want to like jump down someone's throat and just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, many times. And sometimes I have a rule now. When I'm live, actually, I don't go into social media.
Good.
Yeah, I try not to. After I'm done, I can read everything. But while I'm live, I don't, because if not, my mind starts to go away. So yeah, that's my rule.
Yeah, absolutely. Switching veins a little bit, we would love for you to answer one of our questions in Spanish, just so those who have a Spanish background or maybe some of our Spanish community can really feel connected to you, and also just make sure that we're creating things for our Spanish community. I'm obviously going to ask it in English because I personally do not know Spanish.
Come on, you can do it.
I wish, but I'm not quite there yet. I live in Miami, so I'm slowly learning because
Good.
obviously Miami is 70% Latino. So
Yeah.
you have to learn it in order to live here. I mean, I want to be able to speak to everyone that I can, but I'm not quite there yet. So
Okay.
after over a decade of covering sports and motorsports, what keeps you most excited about the present and future of the industry?
Okay. In Spanish, right? A ver, después de una década en esto y hablando de, obviamente, de mujeres y del poder que podemos tener, creo que lo que más me motiva es eso, que cada vez somos más mujeres en, vamos a decirlo así, en la industria o en el automovilismo. Por supuesto, me encantaría que hubiera más pilotos. Si pudiera haber en Fórmula 1, pues estaría increíble, pilotos mujeres, ¿no? Sé que es un proceso y que se está buscando la forma, pero bueno, se están abriendo distintas categorías y hay cada vez más mujeres que están entrando de esa forma, y no solamente en cuestión de pilotos, sino también hay mucho más reporteras, hay muchas más mujeres también en los equipos, ingenieras, mecánicas, jefas de estrategia. Hay muchas mujeres que están trabajando en Fórmula 1 y sin duda después de esa década he visto el cambio. Como lo mencioné, cuando entré había otras mujeres, pero ahora somos muchos más. Y creo que eso es hacia donde vamos y hacia donde debemos seguir avanzando, hacia que exista una mayor cantidad de mujeres, que lleguemos a esa igualdad y que dejemos de pensar que el automovilismo es de hombres, ¿no? Que también nosotras tenemos un lugar y que podemos, por supuesto, hacer bien las cosas. Yeah.
Amazing. And then one more, if you have the time.
Yeah.
What maybe specific advice would you give for those who are in the either in Mexico or in the Latino community who want to get involved and almost feel like they're at maybe a disservice or there is that barrier because of the language?
In Spanish or English?
In Spanish,
In
please.
A ver, yo creo que el hablar español no es un limitante. Por supuesto que tienes que saber inglés, pero bueno, véanme a mí, mi inglés no es perfecto y aquí estoy. Estoy tratando de dar lo mejor y sigo preparándome para seguir dando lo mejor. Entonces, partiendo de eso, de que no creo que sea un tema, creo que hay que buscar y crear esas oportunidades. Tenemos muchas oportunidades hoy en día. O sea, ya no es como antes que solamente estaba un medio de comunicación o había una forma. Ahora hasta con un teléfono podemos hacer cosas increíbles. Podemos buscar la forma de llegar, podemos crear contenido. Hay agencias de comunicación, de marketing, hay muchas formas de acercarse a los deportes o al automovilismo o a Fórmula 1 y sobre todo por lo que hemos comentado, o sea, cada vez los equipos, la misma categoría o las mismas categorías buscan ser mucho más inclusivos y crear un ambiente en donde haya, o sea, haya minorías, por decirlo así, ¿no? Y que sobresalgan. Entonces aprovechemos también esa oportunidad en la que estamos viviendo y este momento del mundo para levantar nuestra voz y hacernos notar y sin importar de dónde seamos.
Amazing. All I caught from that, which I got probably maybe 40%, 30%, 40% of that, is that it's not a barrier, that you could just go after anything that you dream. There's so many different avenues that you can take, and that I think is fantastic advice.
Yeah, that nowadays I think we can do a lot of things that is not like before, that it was only like one main TV broadcasting, no? Now we have with one phone you can do a lot of things, and that we are living in a time that, as you mentioned before, not only different categories, but media and teams and everyone want to be more inclusive. So we have to take, of course, a chance on that too. So there's an opportunity there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. And there's individuals like yourself that are showing, like, it's enough to say it, but if you don't see it, it's hard to imagine it. And you saw Natalie and you're like, that's where I'm going to be one day. And there you are working alongside her, like almost colleagues or parallels. And it'll help other individuals, you know, to see you talking about this and be like, she's done it, I can do it. And she gets the negativity, but she goes past it. You know what I mean? So thank you, Giselle. This has been fantastic. I think it's awesome to speak to someone who's not from the same formula, like what we see all the time in the English speaking world, UK and, you know, US sports news. But this is, it's awesome to get a different perspective, because I think a lot of people who are not in that universe think it's hopeless, but it's really not. You're here and you're saying, I'm doing it and I'm going to continue doing it. And I've always been doing it. So it's badass, super badass.
No, thank you, girls. And congratulations for this, because it's wonderful to see women empowering women, you know, and your platform is about that. And it's great. And we need more of this, you know, because sometimes we forget that there's magic when women support women. And so we have to do it. We have to constantly do it. So congrats, and I'm happy now to be part of this.
Absolutely, it's our honor. Honestly, thank you again. I echo Samantha's exactly what Samantha said. I can't say it any better, but it's incredible that we are just beginning to see so much more representation from so many different avenues, and anything that we can do to serve as a conduit for that, we're obviously going to be here to do it. So we appreciate all of the kind words and thank you. And this has been an incredible chat. And I'm really, really, really excited for people to see it and, you know, get to see this other side of the sport that we don't always get to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.